Welcome back to the Custody Files. We're listening to the audio of my trial where I lost custody of my 6-year-old daughter with no evidence and without due process. My trial was only an hour and a half long to an hour and 40 minutes. We have already listened to where the petitioning party, the dad, has given his evidence, his statements of facts. All of these statements of facts, they are circumstances. None of this is actually proof of harm to our child. In Oregon, and probably in most states, when joint custody has already been established, a judge is not allowed to order anything but joint custody unless there is proof of harm. Even if there is a disagreement between parents who have joint custody, the court can only help them resolve the disagreement. They can't change custody over it unless there is proof of harm, as I keep saying. In my case, he was upset that I had to move because of circumstances in my family, and this was going to affect the parenting plan. In our custody agreement, it did say that either parent was allowed to move as long as they gave 60-day notice, which I did. It also said that if the parents cannot agree on a decision for the child, the mother makes the final decision. So even though he did not agree that I was moving her more than 60 miles away from him, the parenting plan we already signed, the judge already signed, already accounted for this. This was not a custody trial. There should have never been a change of custody in this situation in my case. And this is where the constitutional rights violation comes into play, because it is my protected right that I make choices for my child as a fit parent unless it is proven that I am not a fit parent first. So because there was no proof of harm, there was nothing to legally and rightfully give that judge anything to say that me moving was not a decision in the best interest of my child. I've heard some of you argue, what about the dad? Isn't he protected as well? Yes, that's why we had the parenting plan already signed in mediation, already signed by the judge, that the dad already agreed to. The dad already had his constitutional rights protected. He already had a say in all of this. Now that mom's making a decision dad doesn't like, he still has constitutional rights. Yes, he has choices. He can petition the court to get more parenting time. He can move to where the mother moves to. But as far as a full change in legal custody, a full change in physical custody of the child, it is unconstitutional to make that change unless there is proof of harm to the child first. During a divorce litigation, a separation, whatever it is, the courts and the parents come together and they come up with a plan to say this is in the best interest of the child to have a parenting plan in this way, and the best interest of the child is for them to primarily be with their primary caregiver. So in this situation, that was me. I took care of my daughter for 6.5 years, and then they abruptly changed custody to her dad. In other words, custody had already been determined. Custody was not supposed to change at all in this child's childhood unless there was proof of harm. Okay, we listened to a little bit of my testimony at the end of the last episode, and now we're going to hear some more of my testimony. One thing I want to point out while you listen to this is that the judge is fishing for information. It's like he doesn't have enough yet for custody change, so he's like trying to push me into saying something that is going to give him enough for a custody change. Just listen to what happens next.
Some of the evidence was difficult to obtain, so that's why I'm testifying based on my direct evidence caring for Ashlyn if I don't have the evidence available. Ashlyn is a 6-year-old girl. She was diagnosed with global developmental delay and ADHD at 4 years old. She experiences delays across multiple domains, including adaptive, speech, gross motor, cognitive, and her social emotional growth. I had her assessed after our initial divorce.
Do you have any documents to support those diagnoses?
Well, that was the part that I wasn't able to come up with in 2 weeks' time, prioritizing.
Was it from a medical doctor or school?
Yes, she was diagnosed through OHSU out of Eugene. They have a child diagnosis center down there. She was also assessed through early intervention in Albany. She's been assessed through her pediatrician in Albany, and she also does have an
early
IEP.
Intervention. They have a list of things that they encourage someone. That's the whole point of early intervention, to intervene. What were those recommendations?
Well, the recommendations were what I actually went forward with the following 3 years, which were occupational therapy, speech therapy, and then eventually by age 6, she also needed some physical therapy. Over the last 3 years, I've participated and facilitated an average of 77 appointments for her per year. That includes all of her IEP meetings, all of her disability meetings, her surgeries.
What surgeries did she have?
She had to have her tubes put in her ears and her adenoids removed. She also had to have full caps put on all of her teeth at 3 years old because she, with her adaptive delays, was not allowing us to brush her teeth. And she does need another surgery to have her tonsils removed at some point within the next couple of years. Mrs. covered about 3 appointments per year. With the appointments that she's been having with my facilitation, she's actually currently caught up to age development at 6 years old, even though she does experience some challenges still. But this was a good opportunity for me to switch services because the gap in service being temporary wasn't going to cause too much of a regression in her progress.
Who's her pediatrician now?
She does not have one yet established, and we just got the insurance transferred over last week, waiting on the process for that to go through. Also, I've been very busy with this case.
Where's she going to school?
She goes to Lyon, which is a private school in Oregon, and she is also homeschooled as supplement to her curriculum at the private school because of her delays. She does need extra support through learning.
So when did she start going?
Well, she started going there about a week after we moved there, which was end of August, but they began their school year the first week of September.
So she started going there in August or in September?
Both. They offer a childcare program, so she was enrolled in the childcare part, and then once they began their school curriculum, she went to a classroom where she goes to learn her academics.
So is that an elementary school or is that a preschool?
It's both. They do actually preschool through 3rd grade at that location. There's quite a few options in Southern Oregon for these types of schooling, alternative school for families.
How much does that cost a month?
It costs approximately, which covers all of the childcare and education.
I was never told any of this information there.
Please continue.
Thank you. Previously, when I lived in Albany, I was operating a daycare out of my home, which allowed me to meet Ashlyn's need while maintaining steady income and flexibility.
Where was that and when was that?
The childcare, I began doing it in 2016. I had taken some breaks to go back to work.
Any information that has any relevance is going to be from when the dissolution was signed back in fall of 2022 to now.
Work history was actually important for the best interest decision and primary caregiver. Even though it was prior to the last judgment, it was still relevant. I have gone through extensive training, even college courses and degrees. I have obtained a great deal of knowledge in early childhood development, nutrition, safety, things like that. So that played a big role in my caregiving. It played a big role in me being a primary caregiver for Ashlyn and it being in her best interest to stay with me. For him to dismiss that fact was an error.
Since fall of 2022, I closed the daycare for 1 year to establish services for Ashlyn. During that time, I did odd jobs and had a very difficult time making ends meet. But since I was able to establish DSP services and her occupational therapy, also a positive behavioral support plan, I was able to reopen my daycare in September of 2023, which I operated up until February of 2025. In January of 2025, my 18-year-old son, Ashlyn's brother Andre, experienced a medical crisis. I needed to provide full-time care for him for 2 months, which caused me to lose my daycare business and my income. When insurance denied our housing assistance, we had to move out of our rental home in May of 2025 for non-payment of rent. I then purchased a 22-foot camping trailer, and my 2 children and I began living in it full-time. I would like to present exhibits C and D if you have objections to these exhibits.
Do you have copies of those, sir?
Yes, sir.
Any objection, Mayor?
I'd like to also present exhibit A and B since
I think these are the same ones.
This Oregon Connections Academy, Oregon Public Academy for K through 12 says virtual learning portal, accredited online program.
It's a small, individually woman-owned business, and actually just established it in April of 2025. I've not personally been able to find information on it online, but I do know the online academy you're referring to, and that is not the one that I was going to attend. This is a classroom of about 18 students that learn with one teacher that provides a curriculum for them.
So she goes to school every day?
Yes.
I thought you said that you were homeschooling her.
Well, I am. Yes, I can understand why there's confusion there. I also work at the school that she goes to, and they're very flexible, which is why I was able to propose a parenting plan allowing Michael some overnights during the week.